All right, here we go. In 35 minutes, we are going to set up a full Vectorworks plot. All right, now I need to emphasize something. This crash course is just that. It is a crash course. I've designed this for folks who are just starting with Vectorworks, who don't really know anything about the Vectorworks and drafting world. If you have spent time with Vectorworks before, if you have spent time in other drafting software, you probably don't need this course. This is really, really basic. We're just going to kind of create a full kind of set some fixtures, kind of just go through those kind of tools and stuff. But we're not going to go into any like really, really in-depth detail. I will be making a lot of videos about that over the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited about that to kind of take this deeper. But I know that when we're, us lighting professionals as we're getting started, it can feel a little daunting sometimes to like have to learn a whole new thing, and oftentimes we don't have that much time. So I wanted to make something that really, really quickly helped create just a little bit of less chaos, right, when you're starting. So we are currently on Vectorworks version 2022, which is the latest version. It just came out a couple weeks ago, actually. This is a Spotlight crash course, so it is going to be about Spotlight, not the other applications. So if you are in architecture, this is probably, again, not the course for you. But yeah, the concepts that we're going to teach here are really scalable. We're going to make a really, really small show. I'm going to go very quickly and I'm not going to do any particular detail, but the idea is that you can then take your show file that you've made and kind of start scaling up and add more fixtures and add more positions and add walls and all of that kind of stuff. And just this will provide you a bit of like the diving board before you dive off to go to the pool kind of thing. That was a good analogy, I think. Anyway, I'm Jonathan. I'm really glad that I'm able to put this out. Yeah, and I hope it's a big help to you guys. Let's get started. Alrighty, so let's dive right into Vectorworks 2022 Spotlight. Yay! Okay, so just a quick note about this area that you're seeing right now, this blank, scary-looking document area. This is your design layer. This is the default design layer that is created. Design layers are different to sheet layers. If you accidentally created a sheet layer when you were playing around, please get off that and go back to design layer. This is where you want to be. This is where your document is actually going to be created. People often get confused between sheet layers and design layers. Design layers are where you are going to create your document. This is what we're on now. And then sheet layers are where we're going to actually print them out and like arrange them for printing, essentially. So this is where you want to be. You are in the right space. A couple quick notes about navigating around here. If you hold down the spacebar on your keyboard, you will get a little icon here. It will let you just move around in the document. Very, very helpful. Over here, you can see you have your basic tools. These are more like specific tools. Like I'm in Spotlight right now, so I have tools for lighting. You can see you have the attributes palette down here. So we can adjust like color and stuff like that for objects. Over here is the object info palette. This is extremely important. And this is your navigations palette, so like classes and stuff like that. Okay, now that we have that little overview out of the way, we now need to go and adjust this paper size because this is way too small for what we need. A quick note, if you don't see the Spotlight tab up here, it's probably because you're not in Spotlight. So you need to go to Workspaces under Tools, and navigate to Spotlight. You might be in Fundamentals or something. So we're going to go over to File, Page Setup. We have a whole bunch of lovely options here. For this example, I'm going to go with Arch D size paper. This is pretty standard in the entertainment industry, Arch D. If you see a Vectorworks plot, there's a good chance that it was created for Arch D size paper. So let's hit OK, and we get a much bigger sheet of paper. Take a look at that. Yay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to go do is I'm going to quickly create a new class. So classes are kind of like the what of an object in Vectorworks. They are the what. Think of design layers as the where of an object and the classes as the what. So let's hit new. I'm going to name this stage. Edit properties after creation, hit OK, along with me. And here I can kind of adjust the attributes of this particular class. You'll see how this plays out in a second. I can add textures, descriptions of this class, visibilities, all that kind of stuff. We don't need to worry about that now. Just hit OK. We are now going to go to the stage class, and we are now in the stage class. Lovely. All right. At the same time, we're going to go over to the design layer column here. We're going to hit new. and I'm going to name this stage. Meta properties after creation, lovely. All this stays right. I need this to be 1 to 48, so that looks good. All right, so now you can see we have both stage up here. We have stage in our class and stage in our design layers. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to select the rectangle tool. I'm going to want the second mode of my rectangle tool here. So you can see you can select the tools here and then the individual modes of the tools. So let's select the second mode here. Let's go to the center and we're just going to click once. This is a 2-click tool, so we can drag, we can make this as big as we want, we can make it as small, we can kind of manipulate the size. You can try to freehand this. I personally am not going to take on that task. I'm going to make it fairly big, kind of like that. It's probably like 50 or something. For our example, we're just going to have a very big, actually we'll do a smaller stage. Let's make this a little bit more kind of relatable. So let's do 25 feet here. So if you hit the tab key on your keyboard, you will be able to access this little more specific area where you can actually type in what you want. I'm going to hit now -14 tab. Oh, oopsie. Please hold. -14 feet, not inches. There we go. This looks good. I can kind of see my preview here. I'm going to hit the enter key once. You can see it's kind of giving me some data here. I'm going to hit it again. Now I have a lovely rectangle. If I hit the X on my keyboard, it was going to take me back to the selection tool, which is your main tool here in Vectorworks. And now I want to turn this into a 3D stage, because right now, if we go over here, this is your view, so you can see all the view stuff here. If we go to front, and you can see that you can change the default 3D settings. We don't want to show this again, probably. We can see in 3D right now, there is nothing. There's literally nothing in 3D except this lovely like blank object. What you see I did there was I went to my front 3D and then I went to the normal perspective. For the perspective I wanted. So now let's go back to the top. So what we want to do is we want to make this into a 3D stage. So I'm going to go do the event design. Going to click create stage. Stage height. Okay. Yep, for let's say 3 feet, that's probably fine. This is kind of what the overall, like if you have multiple like staging components and you're putting them together, you can like map that out here. For this example, because I don't want to mess around with that, I'm just going to put 70 for both of these. Just nice and big. I'm going to hit OK. Boom. And now this is a 3D object. So we can go in here and you can see that we suddenly have a stage. Take a look at that. It is a blank black stage. It has 3D texture. Very cool. That's kind of cool, isn't it? We can select it. Now is a good time to kind of go over the object info palette. So this is where you can see data about these objects. So you can like quickly see at what point on the X and Y axis they're at. If you need to rotate anything, you can adjust the height. So if suddenly you decide, oh, I need this to be 5 feet, you can do that instead. You can adjust the depth and the width and all of those lovely things. You can adjust the type of structures, just a border, all that kind of stuff. And this will change based on the object you have selected. Okay, so now that we have that, that's very exciting. We can do some other things. We can maybe do like steps or something. Maybe if we did like some steps here. You can see I selected the step tool. It is a 2-click tool. So I click once to define the start, and then I can turn it to rotate the stairs. But because I want this to be here, I'm going to put it there. Lovely. So stage height is going to be 3 feet. You can see I have a whole bunch of like options here, like how much, how wide is everything, how many steps. Let's do 4. Step thickness, all that kind of stuff. So we can hit OK. Lovely. Now let's go see how that looks in 3D. I'm gonna perspective, and you can take a look at that. I have steps that actually looks a little funky, so let's do 3 steps instead. There we go. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? And maybe just for good measure, we should do the same thing on this side as well, like right there. Lovely. That's going to have 3 steps. Lovely. So now our plot is it's coming along. We can see we have steps, we have a stage. All right, so now let's add some chairs to this. I'm just going to grab this tool, my rectangle tool. I'm gonna make sure I'm in the first mode. I'm just gonna like freehand this. It's not gonna look very pretty, but we can just do that. Perfect. Hit X on my keyboard to get back. I'm now gonna hit the seating section tool. Lovely. Double click that. And I'm now in the seating section settings. This looks fun, doesn't it? So here we can kind of like decide what type of chair we want, all this kind of stuff, like the measurement between rows, section information, limits, and the angles of seating. Like, are we going to align rows? Are we going to shift them? Is there 3 feet between rows? Boom. All right, this looks super cool. So now we have, take a look at these lovely chairs. I'm now going to go to my front, to my normal perspective, and you can see I have a ton of chairs for this lovely performance that we're about to put on, whatever that ends up being. All right, so now we're kind of getting to see this come together a little bit more. If we go to our top view, we can see it. We have our stage here, our stairs, and our seating. So let's go back to top plan. All right, so it's time to start thinking about lights, because that is what Vectorworks Spotlight is really for. It's Spotlight. It's for lights. You can see we have a little lovely light icon over here. Very, very exciting. So we're going to kind of start thinking about what we need for our lighting spaces. And this is going to be a pretty simple rig. Like, again, this is a crash course. Our goal is to create a simple example so that way then you can take the knowledge that you've learned from this and go on to more complex stuff. Very, very exciting. In my opinion, I wish I had this kind of stuff. Like, Vectorworks daunted me for so long because I was just like, no way I can create this. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to our little like truss tool set here. We can hit the lighting pipe tool. Very exciting. Let's say we want, let's see how we want to do this. Do we want to do like one lighting pipe? Maybe I didn't do this quite right. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go from one side. So let's say we're going to go like centered. We're going to do a full lighting pipe. So a 50-foot center lighting pipe. I'm going to hit that again, hit it 2 times. All right, and now here we can kind of choose some like more specific stuff about this. Insertion point left, that looks right. Draw a pipe. The diameter of the pipe is a 2-inch pipe. That looks about right. Construction material, end marker. We can like determine if we want tick marks, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna hit OK. Beautiful. All right. I want to elevate this because right now this is at 0 in my document. If we go to here, you can see the lighting pipe is currently on the floor. We can't really see it. We need it to be in the air. So I'm going to use Z here. Let's say 25 feet. Let's say 33, which will put us 30 feet over the stage because the stage is, again, 3 feet high. All right, so now we have that. That's very exciting. If I wanted to, I could copy that. I could paste it again. Could like go to we could do like 1 on each, right? Like snap it to the front. Oh, it didn't snap right. All that kind of stuff, right? We can kind of then go, we can see that if we go to front, there. We now have 3 lighting pipes. I don't like how that looks. We're gonna kind of stagger these a little bit. Let's put that one at 30, and this far rear one, if I can select it, maybe I can't. It doesn't like me. And we're gonna put this far one down here. This one's gonna go to 27 feet. So that way it's just a little bit more staggered. has a little bit more depth. Oh, I did that. Please hold. As I do, this is my like fault in Vectorworks. I need this to go to 27 feet. Lovely. Now we're set. Sometimes when you've been drafting for forever, you just like do things automatically and then you forget that it's a new software version and things don't work the way that they did in previous ones. Okay, so now we can kind of see that it's staggered a little more. This would look a lot better in an actual design scenario, right? Because you can have staggered lighting rigs and stuff. So now I think we're just about ready to start setting up our show. Maybe do we want some truss? Maybe we want some truss. Like what if we had like a base truss or something along the bottom? That could look kind of cool. We have pipe in the air and truss on the ground or something. I don't know. That's kind of cool. We can also, what we're going to do now, I think, is I do want some truss, but I'm going to search it up in my resource manager because this will allow me to show you guys this, the resource manager. This is where you can see essentially all of your resources. You can import custom ones. You can use the ones you currently have. Going to type in box truss, enter, and you can see it automatically get tons and tons and tons of stuff. I can like go through, let's see. That looks kind of cool. All right, you can now see once I selected it, it is on my tool now. So we can like just like stick that back there, I guess. Maybe I'll stick it over here because I'll do that. That's lovely. Take a look at that. It's rigging. It is rigging, and we can double click that to kind of get some edit elements, edit 2D components, hit edit. And here I can like adjust multiple things. I can adjust the length of it. If I want this to like go the entire length of the stage, I can make it 50 feet, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's going to be 50-foot long truss. I'm going to hit exit symbol. Beautiful. 0. All right, so now I've gotten this little warning here. 15 minutes have elapsed since the first operation was performed in this document. Do you want to autosave this document? Yes, I do. And it's going to ask me, do I want to save this? I'm going to save this as VW crash course. Hit save. Lovely. You can see over here it says autosave complete. All right, now we're going to go to the front again. Get our perspective. You can kind of see our truss. It's a little hidden back there. Maybe if we go to our top, we can kind of see that a little bit better. Maybe let's just raise this up. Say it's 3 feet off of the ground, so it's like just behind them. We could do like some cool profile action on that. All right, I think we are about ready to start actually sticking some lighting fixtures onto this rig. All right, so now let's add some lighting fixtures to our plot. Now, one thing I'm going to just note in this crash course is that I'm not going to add tons of lighting fixtures to all of these positions because that's just going to take too long. And once you know how to apply fixtures, you can go through and do this yourself, which I would highly encourage you doing. Okay, so there are two ways to apply fixtures. The first one is over in our toolsets palette. You can put a lighting device tool. You can use that. But I'm going to use the resource manager because this is what I first did. And I want to show a little like confusion that happened with me. Okay, so let's just search for Mac Viper. Let's see what comes up. Okay, so here we are. We have our lovely, the common fixture, Martin Mac Vipers. We will accept this lovely Viper here, the performance. And you're going to get this little thing, double-clicking a lighting device symbol will automatically activate the lighting device tool, which is over here. So you can hit OK. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so now what we can see here is if I hover over any of our hanging positions, those pipes that we added, I get a little red line. You can see it better along the truss here, which is kind of cool. So what this is doing is it's telling me, oh yeah, this is a hanging position, and it can realize that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to our center pipe here, and we're going to go to the center of our pipe and click. And you can see we now have a fixture there. All right, so now just for clarification, let's go to like this point here, and then we'll go 5 feet off here as well. Lovely. Okay, So let's go back to our standard tool just by hitting X. And so now we have 3 Viper performances on our hanging truss. Now we can adjust this if we didn't want our if like we needed to adjust the orientation that these are going to be hung. Maybe it's 180. Yeah, maybe let's say that we want all of these to be 180 degrees. They're facing towards the front. Okay, and now let's just go over to our front normal perspective. And you can see one of the cool things here is that it's inserted them at the point that the hanging position is at. It could have inserted them at 0, 0 at our base point, but it's actually attached to them because we've assigned it as the lighting device. It's put it on the pipe, which is kind of cool. And also down here you can see a little outline of the spot as well, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the other thing that we can do here, let's go back to our top plan. So now that we have our lighting devices, and I would encourage you to add a ton more of lighting devices. Go through, choose different fixtures, add more Vipers, add more like Auroras or something, and like put them on the truss here, all of our different pipes, play around with some different positioning, really start thinking about how a designer would lay out their fixtures and why, and all that kind of stuff. But for now, we're just going to stick with our 3 fixtures here. So we can select these. You can see over here in our object info palette, we can change a ton of things about these. This GDTF fixture mode, I'm going to talk about this in a future video. GDTF is essentially a way of making sure your fixtures work from drafting if you're planning to import them into like a visualization software. It's coming along. It's not quite perfect yet, but hopefully it will get there. But we can also we can add information like our unit number 101. We can add the absolute address, that kind of stuff. We can add our universe, so this is going to be DMX universe 1, address 1, all that kind of stuff. And then you can also add a ton of other stuff. You can adjust your rotations, you can adjust the systems, show beam at focus point, draw beam, all these kind of things. And we can go through and do those. You can also adjust the pan and the tilt of the object, which is quite handy. And you can adjust things like weight and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? So you go through, kind of play around with this. You can also see this if you double click on the object and you get a lot more information. Where you can change that, you can add colors, light information, you can talk about colors, you can see the shutters, gobo wheels, you can add those, color wheels, you can add those, animation wheels, all this, and all of this really works if you're connected to Light is really the purpose behind it. But let's just say that for now we are good with those. There are a couple other things that are important about fixtures, being able to find and modify. So you see find and modify here. This is really helpful. This will allow you to select certain fixtures and then change something about them, which is really helpful. So if you needed to select a moving light whose instrument type equals a Mac Viper performance, and you needed to change, the instrument type or whatever, right? You can do all of that here, and then it'll automatically do that, which is really, really helpful. I'll make a separate video all about this as well. Okay, so now that we have fixtures, we are ready to move on to our next section. Alright, so now it is time to start setting up our sheet layers, so that way we can print these. Now, before we do that, I'm just going to quickly, we need to set up our design layers a little bit better. In a real show environment, pretty much everything would be on its own design layer, so like all your pipes and stuff. So we're just going to quickly create a new design layer as well that I'm going to name second E for electrics. This all looks good, lovely. You can see it's blacked it all out there, but really what is going to happen is I'm just going to select all of our objects here. You can see we have class, we have layer, all of these kind of things, but for our layer we're going to go to second E. And you can see it's kind of graded out. This is what you want to kind of do with your whole show file, so CD might go on its own. We haven't really set that up here for the sake of time. And the reason we did this is going to become clear momentarily. But for now, we are now going to go and create a new sheet layer. Okay, so sure, sheet layer 1, we're going to name it cover. Edit properties after creation. Okay, this all looks good. Okay. And now, boom, we have a sheet layer. So this is essentially the sheet layer, like the paper that you are going to print something on. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to kind of set this up a little bit. We can set up a title block. So on a typical show, you would set up a title block border. You can see if I go to page center and I have it, we can kind of choose a pre-selected one, which is kind of handy. Or you can make your own. I typically make my own. I don't will import them, but for this example, we can just import one here as well. Activate title block. You can see it's a little outlined here. Hit OK. And now we have a title block selected, and we can now edit this. So you can see if we double tap on it, you can go to the layout, which is by style, and then you can kind of edit it through here, the layout of it, and then you can also go to the title block manager. Yeah, open all active files. Beautiful, beautiful. And now you can also change the data within that. So the project name, that might be the show that you're working on, the sheet data, all this kind of stuff, the scale. I would highly encourage you to go and look at like examples of Broadway kind of title blocks and stuff. And so just to kind of get an overview of how they kind of organize it all. All right. Beautiful. You can see I just updated. This is now the VW crash course. Okay. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to go to the sheet layers. I'm just going to duplicate this. This is now going to become our second E. Beautiful. Okay. Alrighty, so now that we are on our second page up here, which should have been renamed, but it didn't. I don't know why that happened. Let's just go in and do that. I did something wrong, obviously. Second E, enter, please. There we go. I must not have hit enter. And you can also see over here it's updated the page name, which is kind of cool. So the title blocks will kind of update as you change things in the document. One thing to note about sheet layers is they are always drawn on a 1-to-1 scale. So in order to visualize objects, you have to add a viewport, and this is how you do that. So we're going to go to our View tab up here, and we're going to go to Create Viewport. All right. So we can see all of this, create on layer, that looks right, use style. We can kind of select what style we want. I don't actually want a drawing label on this. Drawing label 1, we can name this second E movers. Lovely. And now we can select the layer. So what I did here was I hit the layers, and I went over to the second E, which is our design layer. And I'm going to hit over here to make this a little eye icon. And this means that this layer is now going to be seen, scale, 1-to-1. That is not going to be sufficient. We're going to need something like 1 to 50 or something. All right. Hit OK. Okay, so now we have our fixtures. You can see on our viewport that it kind of matches what we had up there. This scale is actually a little bit too small. Let's go 125. Okay. We might even be able to go 120. Okay. All right, so now we have our viewports. Yay. This is very exciting. Okay, so now let's say that we need to add dimensions because someone's going to be hanging these, right? They're going to be hanging our fixtures. So let's double click on this. And you can see that we can now edit this viewport in several different ways. The annotations and the crop. We're going to talk about crop in a second, but for now let's just do the annotations. Hit OK. All right, so this is where we can kind of add our, we can add the spacing and stuff that we want. So we can go up here to our constrained linear dimensions tool. I'm going to use the constrained chain mode here. Let's say we're going to go from our endpoint over here. We're going to go to the center point here. We're going to raise it up. So we can see I'm now going to go over here. That's 20 feet. That's 5 feet in between there. That's also 5 feet. And now if we go all the way to the end of the pipe, which is going to be there, that is also 50 feet. Okay. And now we'll double click that to kind of set our dimensions. And now we have dimensions. And you can see here that we can also adjust some of the text options around the annotations if you need to box the text, kind of change if you need to make it bigger, change the style, all that kind of stuff. We can exit there. I'm just going to copy and paste this viewport now as well. You can also use the crop tool to crop on this if you needed to make this bigger or whatever. But I'm not going to show that. I'll do that in a different video. Okay, so I'm just going to select this one here just for a couple other references. You can see here an important one here is the view section, top plan. We can change this to kind of get a better example of, and you can see this is kind of messing up because we have the annotations at the bottom, but we can change this to different views in the in our design layer, so we can kind of get a better kind of view about these objects in more of a 3D environment, which can be handy as well, depending on the kind of environment that you are working with. You can also set custom views and stuff with that, but we can just put that there. So that's pretty awesome. Now, one thing to note, there's obviously a lot that we haven't talked about. You know, we haven't talked about adding conventional fixtures, although it is very similar. This is really a Vectorworks crash course. It is a start. Now, if you were going to present this, which you wouldn't with it looking this way, you might like add some kind of drawing labels and stuff to like mark this as the second electric. You might crop it so there's like a bigger viewport section of the thing down here. And all of those kind of fun things. You'd obviously work on your title bar a bit more. And you might have tons of stuff here. You probably have a ton of sheet layers, but just for this example, let's just say that we want to print this. Okay. We can go over to File, we can go to Print, and we can print this page, which is pretty awesome. But I would actually recommend not doing just print. I would doing Publish. So let's go to Publish. So Publish will allow you to select documents to officially publish. These are all of your documents. These are the ones that are going to be published. So you can just use this icon to select it, and then you can move it over. Then you can select the next one and move it over. This would print our cover and our second one. You can select what you want. You want them as a PDF, all those kind of things. You can select where you want them to be published to, all those kind of stuff. And then if you hit publish, you will get your final documents. And you can say, do you want this as a safe set? No, I do not. And we can kind of, yeah, we can set this. If I want this to go to my desktop, I can hit save. And it's going to take me right to it. Take a look. Now this is our cover. There obviously isn't anything there. But over here, you can see we published it, which is pretty cool. And then it's going to let you know that it's published, which is kind of cool. So that is the Vectorworks crash course. I know, it's pretty awesome. I hope that you've found this really helpful. There's still tons more about Vectorworks. Like I said, we've barely scratched the surface. We've added a couple fixtures. We kind of presented a document, and this is kind of the foundation point. This is like the this is the diving board, but you haven't actually taken the jump yet. There's so much more about Vectorworks. It's a really complex program, but it's kind of based on some simple concepts, which we talked about in this crash course. So for your next steps, go back through everything, add more design layers, add more fixtures, update your classes. We kind of left that. Really, all of these should be in their own classes, like Trush and the moving fixtures should be in their own classes as well. We should create all of that, play around with all of that in 3D, make some more design layers, print them out, edit your title bar, and you know, just do all of that, practice, look up other plots. That's what I found really helpful when I was starting with Vectorworks. But I hope this has been really helpful. Subscribe, comment, like this video, share it with your friends. And I'm going to be making a ton more videos about Vectorworks as well. One of the things I'm really excited about with Vectorworks is the MVR export option, which is right here. And I'm not going to talk about that now because I want to talk about that in its own separate video, which is coming soon. So please, subscribe, like it. I hope this video was really helpful. Catch you guys later.